Slow down. I want to welcome everyone to the August 2022 NPU-F meeting. I'm Debbie Skipczynski and I'm chair of the meeting. I'm joined today by with Kay Stevenson, who is our vice chair. Kay, do you want to wave or somehow pop up on screen?
Hi.
Thank you. Also, Jane Rawlings, who is our alcohol permits chair. Is Jane still here? Rebecca Faulkner, who is one of the zoning co-chairs. I didn't see Jack join the meeting. I'm hoping that Jack White will join us a little later in the meeting. Carol Shunara, who is taking minutes tonight. And our planner, Doug Young. NPU-F uses two agenda formats. The first is the one with the map. That is the one that was published on our website. And then the other is a consent agenda, which includes applications which historically this NPU is approved with little or no discussion. The consent agenda is available in the chat as well as the full agenda. If you are here for an application, please check the full agenda. That would be the first one in the chat with the map to find your application. A quick orientation for first time or infrequent Zoom users. Please stay muted throughout the meeting so that background noise does not interrupt the flow of the meeting. You can unmute on your screen or use *6 to mute or unmute if you're listening in on your phone. Zoom publishes a participant list, which includes everyone who is attending this meeting. Your name will be at the top of the list. If there is more than one person using the same device, please include both names on the participant list. Click on More, the word More, to the right of your name to find an option to rename. We will be using the honor system tonight to vote. Please resist the urge to vote if you don't live in our NPU. In the event we do need a hand count, we'll be using the raise your hand icons. You'll find this button behind the reactions tab on most computers. All residents of NPU-F may vote on any issues unless they have a financial interest in the application or motion. For example, property or business owners may not vote on their own variances, but can vote on others. If you're not an NPU resident, business owners may vote if they have met the requirements as described in our bylaws. NPU-F includes the following neighborhoods: Lindridge Martin Manor, Piedmont Heights, Morningside Lenox Park, Virginia Highland, Edmond Park, and the Druid Hill streets north of North Decatur that are in the city of Atlanta. There is a chat room for you to share comments to an individual or everyone in the meeting. For most of you, it'll be at the bottom of your screen. You'll also find copies of the agenda, the consent agenda, and the minutes for July. Participants will also, at the meeting tonight, will also leave their contact information in the chat. The chat room will be monitored for comments and questions, but we will only be answering questions if they are relevant to the topic being discussed. You may save the chat by clicking on the three dots at the bottom of the window at the end of the meeting. At NPU-F, our meetings follow a town hall format. If you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand function, or if you're on the phone, hit *9. You'll be called on to speak in order that the hands go up. Be sure to stay muted until you are invited to speak, and then identify yourself so folks will know who is speaking. Please don't wave your hand on screen. There are just too many people in the room for me to see it. And please do not speak unless you are called on. Others may be in the queue and waiting their turn to speak. The exception is when I ask for a motion on an agenda item. Please feel to jump in to make the motion or to second it. Please keep all questions and comments germane to the topic being addressed and respectful of everyone in the meeting. To allow all an opportunity to speak, I'm going to ask that you only speak once on a topic unless you are asked for clarification or a question on previous remarks. So that we can all hear and get a good recording, it's important that one person speaks at a time. If you interrupt, you will be muted. A reminder that any form of campaigning is prohibited at NPU-F meetings per city ordinance. Actually, any NPU meeting. This includes introducing yourself as a candidate, introducing yourself as representing a campaign or candidate, or displaying campaign posters or other materials on screen. Finally, we are here tonight because the city ordinances provide residents of Atlanta through the NPU system the opportunity to provide recommendations and comments on applications and legislative changes that impact our quality of life. It's our responsibility to tell them what we think, and when appropriate, to share the strength of that opinion through hand counts. All votes taken at the NPU are only recommendations, however. Final decisions are made by city boards, city administrators, or city council, and I hope that you will take advantage of expressing your opinion there as well, either in writing, by phone, or by making a comment during public hearing opportunities. Let me just... As I said earlier, the agenda is in the chat. It was also sent out to those that are on our mailing list. Are there any other items that needed to be added to the agenda? Any other items? Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Kay. Is there a second?
Second.
I didn't quite.
I heard Rich first.
Okay, Rich Sussman. Okay, are there any objections to adopting the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda has been adopted. Okay, the first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Thank you to Carol Shinara for taking the minutes last month. They looked great. The July minutes were posted on the NPU-F website and sent to those on our NPU mailing list. Is there a motion to, or first of all, are there any changes or corrections to the minutes as published? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve, to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second. Phyllis first. I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Phyllis and Kay. Okay, just to make sure that everybody can find the your raise your hand function, please raise your hand if you approve the motion to adopt the July minutes. And you'll find that once again under the reaction tab at the bottom of most device screens. Okay, one person found the thumbs up. I'm going to change it. Okay, good. Okay, I don't see the numbers changing, but a vote of 24. Is there anyone that is opposed to adopting the minutes from July? I've just cleared the feedback, so please raise your hand if you are opposed to approving the minutes. Okay. Then by a vote of 24-0, the July minutes are adopted. I just have a couple announcements. First, this is a final call for proposed changes to the NPU-F bylaws and our policy sheet. You can find a link to both documents on the consent agenda or on the NPU-F website. We will discuss proposed amendments under new business tonight. We are required by ordinance to submit a copy of our bylaws for 2023 by September 30th, or the city will not accept any recommendations from the NPU. And in order to meet that deadline, a vote will be taken at next month's meeting. There are a couple of calendar events that I want to bring to your attention. The first is a due cause hearing for Allure, which is in Lindridge Manor, will be held tomorrow night at the LRB. Their hearings start at 5 p.m. They're in committee room 1 in City Hall. Also, this is must-see zooming. The Beltline Subarea 6 Master Plan update to review recommendations from public input sessions is on August 18th at 6:30 p.m. This is a virtual meeting, and I strongly suggest anyone that is interested or concerned about the Beltline going forward should attend that meeting. The last public meeting for the Clinton Corridor Transit Project is August 23rd at the Lindbergh Center MARTA station. That information is on the consent agenda as well. And finally, a special administrative permit or SAP hearing will be held on August 24th. Our NPU has 2 items on their very lengthy agenda, including plans for renovating the lower level of the Heretic and for the in-town Jewish preschool project on Coolidge and Monroe. And a link to their full agenda is also on the consent agenda. Okay, we'll now start with reports from city representatives. And I'd like to open that up to APD. Major Webster, did you want to start?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Major Andrea Webster. I am the new Zone 6 commander, taking over for Major Reese. So I know that a couple of weeks ago, we got hit at the beginning of the month, especially with the car break-ins. We had a rash of those. So we're working on that. We think we have some solvability on those, which is a good sign, and they've ticked down a little bit since then. But I'm sure more importantly, you're all wondering about the shooting that took place recently on Middlesex Avenue. So I spoke with the investigative units today. The parents were at home with the children, hosting a party for high school students. And when the parents noticed that some uninvited guests were approaching, they shut the party down. And then when the children started leaving the house and going to their cars is when a verbal altercation escalated into gunfire. And it sounds like it's between 2 different high school students, 2 different groups of high school students. So right now we do have a video of the shooter. We believe it's only one shooter at this point. And we do plan on releasing that to Crime Stoppers and hopefully getting some good leads on that. But they do have good solvability. There are a lot of people that they still have to talk to. There were not enough people that stuck around. However, the parents that were hosting the party have been very cooperative, and we have no issues with them cooperating or giving us information that we need at this time. And both students who were injured are expected to be okay, which is great news. So we do anticipate wrapping this up fairly quickly, but I'll pause there for any questions.
Okay, if you have any questions for Major Webster, please raise your hand and I'll call you in the order that the hands were raised. Phyllis Wingo?
Sure. Do you have any information about the reasons for the shooting? Was this accidental? Were they just goofing off? Is this an aggressive situation? Did you say two? And did you say 2 high schools were involved?
2 high schools were involved, yes. So it does appear that there was a verbal argument. It does not appear accidental or like they were playing it all. It sounds like currently that there was an argument and one group shot at another, and there does not appear that there was any return fire. It just one student shooting or a group of students shooting at another.
Michelle Olympiadis.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments. I serve on the school board for Atlanta Public Schools, and as a matter of fact, my son was at this party. One of my children was at this party on Saturday night, and the community is a bit shooken up. I think we would all just appreciate, and again, we don't need names, but just more context about how this all happened. There's a lot of rumors going around the community about this being a drive-by, which it was not. It was, in my understanding, it was engagement. I believe the family that hosted the party is stellar, and their daughter, I've known for many years, is stellar. I mean, this is a good community, and I think we need to have some context around what happened here and have a little bit of a deeper conversation about why, because this is not what our community expects, and not that any community would expect this, but this was very surprising and very shocking, and a very hard conversation to have over the weekend.
Right. So there's not a whole, because the investigation is very new, there's not a whole lot that I can really say about exact motives, but it was not a drive-by. Like I said, it was an argument that appears to be students from another high school who showed up uninvited, which is why the host parents shut down the party to begin with, because they realized it was not a good situation. And so we know that there were words exchanged between two groups of people. I don't know exactly what was said, but there was an argument that escalated. And we don't have any reason to believe that the family who hosted the party was culpable for this in any way. From the sounds of it, they recognized that it was drawing a crowd that they weren't expecting, and they shut it down like they should have. So we do know that, like I said, there's video that will be posted soon. We don't have any reason to charge parents at this time, or to suspect parents of receiving any charges. And it was not random, and there was not a drive-by. There were certainly some words exchanged prior to gunfire.
I appreciate you giving us that context, and I really appreciate you working with the Atlanta Public Schools officers and getting this investigation under control and resolved. And like I said, I really appreciate what you are sharing with us, and just want to know that we're here to support you in any way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Kay? Did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a couple of other things that were in the news. The first of those was that this had nothing to do with the Atlanta Botanical Garden, even though one report made the point that it was nearby the garden, kind of an irrelevant point. And the other is that there was an article that identified an actual address on Middlesex, and that address that was in the paper is not the location where the party was going on. So unfortunately, the folks that do live at that address weren't even in town, and they came home to find media all over their yard. So hopefully we'll all cut them a little slack on that, because they weren't involved at all in this situation.
Right. It had nothing to do with the botanical gardens at all. That's a strange point to make. And the party took place at a neighbor's home, but the 911 call of the shooting took place where some vehicles were parked along the street. So that the address that was released to the news is not the host parent's house. And I see some questions in the chat. The high schools that were involved were North Atlanta and Midtown. And I do know that our investigators are working with APS to identify parents involved, and they will make any necessary referrals to social workers or DFACs if they deem it necessary.
Thank you. Sue McHale?
Hi, yes, my question is, has the shooters been identified? Are they known?
So we have general information, but I don't have names and dates of birth and things like that. We do have video that, like I said, we're planning to release to get an exact identification. And we'll also be working with the school system as well.
Great. And Jane Rawlings?
Thank you for being here. Were the victims a part of the altercation or just wrong place, wrong time? Are you able to elaborate on that at all?
I can't say for sure, but early indication is that there was a conversation. I don't know, I can't say that the individuals who were shot did anything wrong at all. I do know that there was some words exchanged. I have no idea if they were people trying to diffuse the situation or if they were actively engaged in an argument, but the victims, from what I'm told, did not return fire, and we have no reason to believe that they were armed.
Any other questions for Major Webster? Well, thank you for being here tonight. I'm sorry that this is the first meeting of NPU-F that you've been at, and I wish we had a little happier news to share, but thank you.
Me too. You're welcome.
Thank you. And I believe Major Mitchell is here from Zone 2.
Yes, I am here. Good evening, NPU-F. How's everybody? So since the last meeting last month, we've made some good progress in Zone 2. So currently citywide, crime is up 7%. Year to date, right now, in Zone 2, we're down 10%. So I'm happy about that. The last 28 days, we've been down 15%. And then the last week, we've been down 13%. So we're trending down in our three periods that we look at, 7, 28 day, and year to date. So I'm happy about that. 212's beat, which is what NPU-F is a part of NPU-F. We had 31 Part 1 crimes last month. 14 of those were car break-ins. So 45% were car break-ins. Similar to Zone 6, we're experiencing that issue with the car break-ins. Our repeat locations were 415 Armour Drive, the apartments, and then 2115 Piedmont Road, those apartments. And so we met with management. We talked to their security. Their cameras were integrated into our video integration center. So we're pleased with that. As always, we're telling corporations, residents, different people to go to connectatlanta.org to look at that and to integrate your cameras, because that helps us fight crime. And then, of course, and they can also get to Connect Atlanta from our website, atlantapd.org. You also can get the crime stats there as well. The clean car campaign that I discussed last month has been working. The car break-ins have decreased. It's still 40 to 43% of our crimes in Zone 2 as a whole are car break-ins, but they are decreasing. And then, so it's helping us. So, the word is getting out and people are leaving less items in their vehicles. Year to date, we've recovered 243 guns, stolen guns, which is a 22% increase compared to last year. So I'm extremely excited about that, to get, those guns off the street, because that's leading to violent crime, which you all see, in the news. In Zone 2, we're up 20% year to date in traffic stops, and we're up 18% in arrest. So the men and women of Zone 2, they are active. They are out there every day, proactively policing. We are dedicating resources to the NPU-F area, the 212's beat. My FIT team, as well as Major Webster's FIT team, still works together along the Cheshire Bridge corridor. Someone already touched on Allure, which will go in front of the board tomorrow. Hopefully they can get a hefty fine, because they were causing me problems last year when I was the captain here. And so hopefully it has this meeting, they can, they can get a serious fine and hopefully cut down on some of the nonsense over there. But my information is in the chat. As always, if anyone has any questions or concerns or wants to know about something in depth, please reach out to me. You know, I'm accessible, and they can reach me by phone or email. But I'm up to answer any questions anyone has.
Got a question, please raise your hand. Rich Sussman? Rich? You're on mute.
Yes, when you mentioned 243 arms being recovered, is that citywide?
That's zone 2 only.
Zone 2 only? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we're averaging about 600, between 600 and 800 traffic stops per week at zone 2. So they are out there. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, you know, because I get I get emails and calls from citizens about it when they get pulled over, you know. But you know, a lot of the criminals are transporting guns and drugs in cars. And so, you know, we're telling the officers to be proactive and be out there, because that's where we're going to get the guns and the drugs from the traffic stops.
That's incredible. Jane Rawlings.
Question regarding the number of guns confiscated for zone 2. How does that stat compare to other zones citywide? Is that average, above, below?
It's above. You know, zone 5 recovers a lot as well. And so I can give you the numbers. So give me a second if you wanted to know. So let's see. So zone 2 is 243 guns recovered. Zone 1, 268. Zone 3, 288. Zone 4, 299. Zone 5, 279. And zone 6, 162. And then also, if you go on atlantapd.org and you look up the crime portal, you can put in whatever zone and you can get that information as well.
Great, thank you. I thought I saw another hand raised. Is there anyone, any other questions for Major Mitchell? Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. So Major Mitchell, thank you for being here tonight. We always
You're welcome.
appreciate when you're here,
You're welcome. Thank you.
to both of you. Thank you. Have a safe evening. Okay, is there anyone here from Atlanta Fire Rescue? I didn't see any names I recognized. Or are there any other representatives from the city? Marlene from Atlanta 311.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry, good evening, everyone. I'm Marlene. I am a trainer over at 311. 311 is the number you dial to report things like potholes, water main breaks, questions about your water bill and solid waste services, code enforcement violations, traffic light maintenance, and general information and much more. So we handle a lot of different issues and we can get you over to the correct department. Excuse my voice, I'm sorry, I'm a little sick this evening. So of course you can reach us by dialing 311 when you're inside the city limits. And our full number is 404-546-0311 when you're outside city limits and you still want to get us. Sometimes when you dial 311, you may get other jurisdictions. But if you want us, you can dial our full number and I'll put that in the chat for you all. So we just want to remind everybody that 311 has created the ATL 311 Supportive Services Team, and we partner with the PAD initiative to provide community response services for quality of life concerns. They're going to be related to unmet mental health needs, substance abuse, or extreme poverty. So you can dial 311 to report issues like that as well. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak this evening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or concerns that you all have.
Any questions for 311 tonight? Doesn't look like it, Marlene. Thank you for being, Sue McHale.
Yes, thank you. Marlene, I just want to say I really love 311. All of the people that work there are so cheerful and responsive. It's great to talk with them. But I do have a question about the 311 website. Is there any place that I can go on the website where I can see what 311 cases have been inputted into the system so that I could see what has been called in, like on my street or the street next to me or whatever, so that I don't have to, and so that 311 doesn't have to have duplicate cases for the same thing.
Thank you, Ms. McHale. That's a great question. So no, not right now, but I can definitely take that suggestion back to the department. Right now, you would have to give us a call, and our agents are actually trained to query our system so that we don't create duplicate requests when citizens call in different issues. Also, in our system, if you do report something online, like a traffic signal that is down or a major pothole, we have something built into our system where it actually doesn't create a duplicate. It loops it together, but it's not creating duplicate work orders for our Department of Transportation or BPW.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate your time here.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other
Hello.
questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. I cut y'all off.
Did you have a question?
No. I was just trying to be the next to speak. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Marlene. I hope you're feeling better. Ms. Parks,
Thank
who
you.
are you here to represent?
Mitchell, Kay Mitchell. She's y'all code enforcement officer. So I'm just filling in. She's out for the rest of the week. But I can say that you all have 4 highly hazardous addresses, which is 1074 Ponce de Leon, 1190 Woodland. For those 2, a notice has been sent out to the owners. For the other one, a notice has been sent out, which is 980 Todd, TODD. And also a notice been sent out to 897 North Highland. So she has a notice that's been sent out. So how code enforcement works, I'm not sure if Officer Mitchell has told you, but what we do is we'll go out, investigate the property, and then after that, we have to wait at least 2 weeks to get the information, the contact information from the owners. Then after that, we send out a letter to the owners, a certified letter to the owners with all the violations. And we give them 30 days to comply within. Then after that, we'll come back out to the property to make sure that everything has been complied. If not, then we will write a citation to the owner. As of right now, we've been on pause for LLCs. We will, I guess we'll know what we'll end up doing by next week from our director, but right now we're just on pause for LLCs, but we are still emailing our supervisors, letting them know that this property is an LLC and it may be a civil case. But after that, if the property is not an LLC, we will write a citation. They will go to court. Once the case is in court, it is basically out of our hands. The solicitors and the judge will come up with an agreement. They may do a 30-day reset. So that's why we try to tell you all that once we get into court, we can basically voice our opinions. Or what I like to do is I like to call maybe the complainant and let the complainant know, or the NPU know, hey, I'm going to court on this such date. If you all want to come, you all can. Let me know, and you can voice your opinion, and that way we can try to get this property in compliance. Any questions?
Any questions? If we wanted to see what the specific issues are, should we go to Excella and look up the address?
Yes, Citizen Acela. You can go make your account on Citizen Acela, and it will basically tell you the Pacific the codes. I'm trying to say the violations. It will let you know the violations that's going on and whether we have wrote a citation or not. So that's a good thing to do, to go on.
Okay, thank you. And
Okay.
for the neighborhoods, I received code enforcement's 90-day report that late this afternoon and haven't had a chance to send it out to you, but I will do that tomorrow or Wednesday. So you'll get a complete list of all of the active.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll give it to the officer so she can go out. But if you all have any like hot cases, you can basically call her and she'll go out, or she'll put it in for 311.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other representatives from the city or county that have a report tonight? Last call. Okay, then we'll go to comments from elected officials. Is Michelle still on the phone? We're still in the Zoom. No, it looks like she left. Are there any elected officials in the meeting that would like to make a report, or anyone representing an elected official that has a report? Okay, I don't hear anyone. Then the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. This is the items that NPU-F approves with one single vote. All of these cases are those where the NPU very generally approves without any conversation. We've seen many of the special events, for example, for years and years and years. So let me go through the items on the agenda. The first is a Board of Zoning adjustment, application V22-111, 1665 Noble Drive. This application has been withdrawn. No action is required. All of our special events are on this application. These are primarily Class E events or Class D events that are recurring or have had a minor change. The first is the Piedmont Park Summer Arts Festival. This is a Class E event with 99 participants in Piedmont Park, August 20th to 21st. The NPU voted to support this application in February, but there has been a change of hours from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. to 10 a.m. to, that should be 9 p.m. The next is 2022 Kids Fit Strong Fitness Challenge. This is a Class E event, 1,500 participants. The recommendation is to support. Is the applicant present? Okay, this applicant is not present. The next is Freedom March. This is a Class C event, 1,000 participants in assembly and outdoor festival. Is there anyone here representing Freedom March? Oh, yay. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you. This event is in Piedmont Park, October 29 to 2022. The recommendation is to support it. Next is the 2023 Atlanta Science Festival Exploration Expo. It's a Class D event with 5,000 participants. This is a recurring event in Piedmont Park in March of 2023. Is Tanner Gerard present?
You got it.
Great, thank you. Next is the Walk MS Atlanta 2023, a Class C event, 1,950 participants in Piedmont Park in April of 2023. Is this applicant present? Paul Neville? Is anyone here representing the Walk MS Atlanta? Not present, okay. And the last is the Energy Fest Wellness Festival. This is a Class D event with 9,000 participants. The reason why this is on the agenda, it is that the date changed from July 29th to the 31st in 2022, which would have been last month. It is now June 16th to 18th, 2023. The NPU previously voted support at our April 18th meeting with no changes to the event itself other than the date, and the recommendation is to continue to support. Is there questions? Anyone here that would like to have any of these applications removed from the consent agenda so that it can be discussed in their regular place on the agenda? If so, please raise your hand.
Debbie,
Yes.
since two of the applicants aren't here, we've done in the past is defer, give them another chance to come to a subsequent meeting. So I would suggest that Kid Fit Strong Fitness Challenge, or Kid, yes, and Walk MS Atlanta 2023 be deferred.
Yeah, and we'll do that, Rich, when we get to the regular part of the agenda.
Okay,
Okay. We'll remove them from the consent agenda. Is there an applicant here who wants to have their application discussed at this meeting? Oh, that's Rich's name. That's it. Okay, I don't see anyone or hear anyone. Is there anyone here who's in opposition to any of these recommendations? All righty, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing the Kid Fit Strong Fitness Challenge and the Walk MS Atlanta 2023 events so that they can be deferred in the regular part of the meeting?
So moved.
Okay.
second,
And that was Kay and Rich. Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, removing those two events as previously stated, please raise your hand. Okay, there's one person, oh, they caught it. Okay, I don't see the number move. That's 14 in favor. Let me clear. Is there anyone opposed to approving the consent agenda? I'm not seeing any. By a vote of 14-0, the consent agenda is adopted. And those two applications that we removed will be heard in order of the agenda. In fact, the next one is Kid Fest. That's the next item on the agenda. Is there a motion to defer this application?
So moved.
second,
Thank you. Motion's been made and properly seconded to defer Kid Fit Strong Fitness Challenge. All those in, is there any objection to deferring the application? Jane, you're okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Is there anyone that objects to deferring that? Okay, it's deferred. And the next application is I'm sorry, wrong one. The Walk MS Atlanta 2023. Is there a motion to defer this application?
Move, defer, motion to defer.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you. Okay. Are there any objection? The motion's been made, properly seconded to defer Walk MS Atlanta 2021. Are there any objections to deferring this application? Seeing none, the application's been deferred to our next meeting. The next item on our agenda is the alcohol licenses applications. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jane Rawlings, our alcohol permits chair. Jane?
Thanks, Debbie. First item on the agenda is Sri Thai, located at 1540 Avenue Place. This is at Emery Point. I did see the agent and their attorney present. This is an application for a new business to operate as a restaurant serving, selling liquor, beer, and wine for on-premise consumption. There has not been an alcohol license at this location for the past 12 months. No live entertainment is planned. It is zoned MRC 3C, seating capacity of 9. No history of alcohol denial, suspension, revocation for the applicant or the location. Operating hours are Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., Saturday, noon to 10 p.m., and Sunday, noon to 10 p.m. Would the applicant and or their attorney like to add any additional information before the body?
We'd also like the applicant to say something so that her face will come up on screen so that we can confirm that you're here.
Sure. Hey, good evening. My name's Taylor Harper.
Are you the applicant for, oh, you're the attorney?
Apologize for my attire. I've been knee deep in Pee Wee League football practice tonight. So I apologize. But the applicant, along with who want to let yourself be known.
There she is. There. Great.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, thank you for being here tonight. Are there any questions for the applicant or the attorney regarding this location? Was there anything that you wanted to add about?
No, ma'am.
You want to give us a hint on what your new menu, what your menu is going to be?
Yeah, we will serving the Thai food and the sushi.
Great, thank you.
All right, Debbie, if there are no questions for the applicant and nothing in the record to correct by the applicant, I will make a motion that we send this forward with a recommendation to approve.
and
Great.
I'll second that.
Thank you. A motion's been made and seconded to send this forward with a recommendation of approval to the LRB. Any questions about the motion? All those in favor?
No, ma'am.
All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 21 in favor. Let me clear the feedback. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see anyone opposed. By a vote of 21 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries. Thank you all for being here tonight. You're good.
All right, second application.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night. Second application is for Knock House Music Group doing business as Knock Music House. This is located at 1789 Cheshire Bridge Road. Agent Alfredo Isaac. This is an application for a new business to operate as a restaurant without live entertainment, serving and selling liquor, beer, and wine for on-premise consumption. Property is zoned NC5. Seating capacity is listed as 125. The property has not had an alcohol license for the past 12 months. Operating hours listed on the application are Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Just some history. NPU-F received the original alcohol application at this location, and that one was dated January 28th, 22. And we heard it at our February meeting on February 21st. The listed use on that application was for a convention center. NPU-F voted to deny the application for failure to meet the distance requirements from residential property, which is immediately adjacent to this parcel. And on March 8th, the application was withdrawn at the LRB hearing on that date. We've received a new application, that is the one before us tonight, dated 7/14/22. And this one, as stated, is for a different use. The owner plans to operate as a restaurant without live entertainment. That particular use would not be subject to distance requirements. I saw the applicant. If there's anything you would like to, okay, Mr. Isaac, if you'd like to add anything to my report, please feel free.
No, I guess I think some of you may already be familiar with my wife and I, Simone, and with Knock Music House. We, for several years, have been mostly a kids party sort of venue and teen events. We've also supported the neighborhood with Kids Fest. I think we've sponsored Kids Fest for a few years. Also other neighborhood events, Christmas stuff, and so forth. Unfortunately for us, COVID pretty much wreaked a little havoc on our business. We had the lease at Cheshire Bridge Road. We acquired that in 2020. And so we were closed for a couple of years, and hence the change of use. It's been a pretty tough task to get things going at that location. And so this is why the change of business use. We hired a pretty good chef. She was the former, I think, procurement manager at High Roads. She was also helped start Yeah Burger and Upbeat. And so she has come on board to help us put together what would be a hip hop inspired food concept. And that's what we're working on now.
Are there any questions for the applicant from the body?
Sue McHale?
Yes, I'm sorry. Was it stated what the hours of the business are? What hours are they open?
The application states the hours of operation Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
If nobody else has a question, I have one. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
Where exactly is 1789 Cheshire Bridge Road? Please refresh my memory.
We are across the street from Johnny's Pizza, and are you familiar with Johnny's Pizza there? Yeah, or with a big white building across the street from Johnny's Pizza.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Angie Carano?
Yeah, I'm wondering what your parking capacity is at that location. I think, will you be parking everyone on your premises, or will you be shuttling people across the street?
No, so we have 82 spaces, which fits our needs. However, we are negotiating with Seelig Enterprises for use of the adjacent parking lot.
Okay, Bill Compton?
Good evening. This is, to my understanding, will be the first time a restaurant has ever been located in that physical building. Where do you stand with the build out of the kitchen and all the other related facilities that would be required for running a true restaurant business? And where are you in terms of getting your appropriate food and beverage licensing?
So this is not the first time there's been a restaurant in that building. In fact, I think that I'm not sure what the name of it was, either Nico's or probably Alfredo's, which that would have been cool if it was. But no, there was a restaurant there before. In fact, we inherited the space with, it was a Greek restaurant. I'm not sure the name, but we inherited the space with ventilation and pretty much everything you need to run a much bigger restaurant than we intend to have. We are already permitted. We have our food service permit. So yeah, we're ready to go. We have equipment. We've spent a considerable amount of money doing the best we can to keep our business alive. It's been an arduous task. And so we expect to do well, and we've invested enough to help us do that.
And my apologies, as I look at the map now, I realized it's a different building than the one I thought. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When do you expect to open as a restaurant?
That's a great question. We have had plans to already be open. But as I just said, it's an expensive task. And I have hired several people to help us have a good start, but I'm not a restaurateur, so it's pushed dates back. We had hoped to be open in time for back to school, but it looks more like closer to Halloween.
And will you continue to use the space for events?
So unfortunately not, because the restaurant license will not allow us to do that. But we think that, you know, this will be a good transition for us as a business. We've served the community well. And I think that we will continue to keep our identity. Knock Music House really was started as a place for my wife and I to dance with our kids. And, you know, we hope to still be a family centered restaurant and destination. It won't be your typical just, you know, walk up and eat kind of place. We hope that it still embodies the sentiment and culture of hip hop, at least the golden era hip hop that we know and love. So that, yeah, I think it's a new day for us, but we welcome it.
Okay. Any other questions? Todd Green?
Hello there, and I haven't been to a meeting in quite a long time. I live over on Amsterdam Avenue, and I've lived here for 25 years, so it's good to see everyone. And this is probably more of a comment than a question, but I know that the word hip hop may be a little scary to some people, but I'm actually excited to and I don't know the applicant, I've never met them, but I'm inspired by their story and what they plan to do and to bring diversity and culture into our community. So I'm very supportive of what I've just heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. And welcome back to NPU-F. Bill Compton, did you have another question?
No, Debbie, I do not.
Okay, let me just lower your hand. Sue McHale, another question?
Yeah, I'm confused now. What is a hip hop restaurant? What happens?
That's a good question. I think that, well, I don't know how familiar you are with hip hop, but I think that hip hop for me has been at the center of my self-identity. Also for my wife and I, we started a business in our youth that was centered around hip hop music for advertising. And so it's been a means of sustenance, but also it's nurtured my soul. And so hip hop transcends just a particular genre of music. It's about the way you think about life. And anyway, without getting all philosophical, we want to bring some of the visual elements of what represented the start of the culture and kind of the essence of what the culture is about. And so when I say hip hop inspired restaurant, some of the menu items, like we have ideas about smoothies. One is called the Red Man Gilla, and if you don't know who he is, you won't get it. But it's just about taking some of the music and the culture of the music and having a fun spin to it. And also, I think for us, we are parents. Go ahead. With art. Yeah, with art but we're parents, and it's important the way that hip hop affected us. We want to be able to kind of carry that and move it forward so that younger generation will have an appreciation for not just the things that they see and think of hip hop as it is now, but the origins. Hip hop was born out of social injustice, and I think that it's a good genre of music to talk about issues that matter. And so that's what the hip hop restaurant will be about, at least for us.
So if I were to walk into the restaurant, what should I expect? Do I expect to be seated and given a meal, and is there music playing in the background, or?
Well, yeah, you should definitely come in and have a meal. It's about the visual component and the way you feel when you walk in. We want to put on the walls the lyrics to some of the songs that have impacted us and that we quote when we talk to our kids. It's just about the visual, the aesthetic of the place, and the lyrics that have impacted us.
Art, music.
So your concentration is more on the music rather than on the restaurant, on the food?
Have you been to, let's say, like, I don't know, Hard Rock Cafe at all?
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
okay, so yeah, so you go there for the food, but you also go for the nostalgia of the music and what it represents.
Okay, all right, got it now. Okay, thank you.
Raymond Cow, am I saying that right?
Hi, yeah, you're saying that correctly. I just want to also reiterate what Todd just said. I think this is a great idea. I'm a renter on one of the apartments on Cheshire Bridge, and I walk past, what would probably be the proposed site pretty much all the time. And I think that your restaurant would be a welcome addition to the neighborhood. And I'm pretty excited to see it. And I think it fits really well into the culture and the history of the neighborhood as well. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another hand? Okay, Raymond, I think, okay, you lowered your hand. Okay. I've got one last question. In all of the communications that we received from you, there are references to the Cheshire Bridge location as being an event space. None of that's been changed. Is there a reason for that?
Are you referring to the website and any
The
kind of
website,
existing?
the way you sign your email addresses?
Oh yeah, well that I apologize for that. I am not even in Atlanta right now, but those things take time to change. We're talking about a full out brand identity shift. We have contracted with Pop Menu. They are a Cisco partner, and they will be building out our website and our social media, and that is an 8-week process. And so the worst thing that we could do right now is to turn everything off, because we would lose the people that have supported us for all these years. So it will take time for the change to happen. In fact, my salespeople are still getting phone calls for kids' parties. We have people who call us and they've been waiting for years to host their kids' parties, and they're devastated when we tell them that we're no longer doing kids' parties. So it's not an easy process, to say the least. And so that's why you have not seen some of the changes in marketing, because changes in marketing require the business to be open and to be able to support the new direction, which we are still working through those.
Okay. All righty. Is there a recommendation for this application?
So in my research, here are the concerns. The initial application was for a convention center. The building application on file with the city of Atlanta is for a convention center. Acela even lists that they currently have an alcohol license granted as a convention center. I have double checked that with APD. That is false. APD verified that there is not an active state or city of Atlanta alcohol application at the location. And we have a history on the street of receiving applications that were ineligible for failure to meet distance requirements generally. And the applicants go back and resubmit for a use that's not subject to a distance requirement. And so whenever I see that or get a second application, it prompts me to go online and search and see what the advertised menu looks like and use looks like, et cetera. And the web presence advertises the space as an event space. The menu suggests it's an event space. And so it's inconsistent with the stated use of restaurant on the application. Given all of that and given the objective information that I have at my disposal currently, and granted it may be a work in progress, but I have to act on that or make a recommendation based on the objective information I have before me, I'm going to make a recommendation to deny. Is there a second?
Yes, there's a second.
Second.
Second, and I'm sorry, whose voice was that?
That's Kay.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So motion's been made to recommend denial to the LRB. It's been properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Are we allowed to make a comment or?
Yep, I've opened it up for discussion on the motion.
Okay, perfect. So to your point, Jane, we have a restaurant license. I went through a good 3-month process to acquire one. We also have a building permit for a restaurant. That was also part of that process, which cost me well over tens of thousands of dollars. I've already spoken to the web presence. A website is not a easy thing to change, especially when you are having a business use change. I understand the concerns. I'm a resident and my kids attended Springdale Park Elementary School. I've been a supporter of Virginia Highland, and I think my character speaks to integrity. I've supported Virginia Highland and Morningside for over 8 years now. And to question whether our intent is true to change our uses, I understand. However, I object because I've taken the steps to actually make that change real and actual. So I'd like for the neighborhood and the board to consider the actual change, not the assumed lack of change.
Okay, thank you. Todd Green.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to respond. For reasons that you may or may not understand, the tone and tenor of this conversation has been quite off-putting for me, quite frankly, for a variety of reasons. And so I have no reason. This family may look a little different. And their application, certainly there have been some changes, but I don't have any reason to not accept this discussion at face value. And so for my first meeting, this has been a very interesting discussion, and I think I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Rich Sussman?
Yeah, just a couple things. You know, the licenses don't have to go before the neighborhood associations, but I'm wondering if Morningside Lennox Park has weighed in on this. Was it is in Morningside Lennox Park?
No, we have not.
Okay. The second thing is probably Bill Compton may be able to help me with this too, is has your establishment been invited to or taken part in the recent business association that Piedmont Heights has started?
I'm not familiar with the Piedmont Heights Business Association, but I was.
The one along Cheshire Bridge. The one includes Piedmont Heights and Cheshire Bridge. They've been active.
To my knowledge, this business is not a member of the Pi High Alliance.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. David? Taylor Klaus?
Hey, first of all, I'm excited about the possibility of this type of business going in. I think it's the more often we can have folks who are business owners and operators who live in the neighborhood and have been part of the neighborhood, I think that's an important shift. I think it's incumbent upon us as members of the NPU to hold people accountable, not to the experiences that we've had, negative experiences we've had on that street or in that property before with other owners, but to look at who these people are. I personally, I'm in support of their moving forward to the LRB. So I'm not excited about the motion we have before us. I will not be supporting the motion.
Great, thank you. Phyllis Swingo?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to make a comment. I'm just looking at the comments in the chat and which are all, I think, very positive toward this new business. And I would ask the folks who are here from Virginia Highlands to comment on how this business has done in their location. I think it's on St. Charles. And it seems to me, based on these comments, that these folks have been a good neighbor in Virginia Highlands and have a history there, and that we should take note of that history. I won't be supporting the motion on the table.
Thank you, Phyllis. And Frances Johnson, you're the last person with their hand up.
Thank you very much. I have one quick question for you, Jane, and that is, what would you like to see changed in that application? What amendments would be required for you to approve it?
So my first, if the body does not support my motion and it's approved, my request would be to work with the applicant to make sure that the city record is corrected, because alcohol licenses go with the property. So the current applicant, if he brings in a restaurant, which I do think ultimately that is his goal, but if we've got, if on file, he is listed as having an alcohol license as a convention center, then in the future, we're opening ourselves up to somebody else also doing that. So I would feel better if he and I could work together with the city to correct the record. And I'll be honest, I would have felt better if I had seen an online presence consistent with the use stated on the application. But I do hear him when he says these things take time. And I know in speaking to other applicants that the timing of getting all the licenses set up and getting the CO and getting the inspections done can be difficult to coordinate. And I admit that and acknowledge that.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Francis?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And Kay, I think your hand is up.
Yeah, just to respond to Phyllis's question from Virginia Highland. I've never done business with Alfredo or Knock Music House, but as safety chair for Virginia Highland, I've actually only ever heard good things. I've never had any issues or any complaints about their operation in Virginia Highland.
And I would second what Kay just said. The difference is no alcohol license at that location. So that's the main difference.
Okay, so we've got some additional hands that have popped up. Lee Matthews, Leah.
Hi, yes, I am from Virginia Highland and I actually live on St. Charles. And as I commented in the chat box, I have worked with Alfredo and Knock for Kids Fest with Summerfest, Buy High Holiday in the Park, and then also with Winterfest. And he's always been wonderful to work with. He's always the first to jump in and help the community. And I've never had any issue. And it's always been a really great privilege to work with him.
Thank you, Leah. Jack?
Yeah, I won't repeat what Leah said, but I was going to say the same thing. She's done a number of events with kids from Midtown May-Grady and has a good reputation here, and it's well liked. But I want to throw in one more thing. You know, we spend a ton of time with variance applications and all kinds of issues that come through here on the planning and zoning committee. If we let everyone go and didn't bring up the issues to the NPU meeting, all the flaws and challenges that have with them, boy, this process, which is already interminable, would take 3 eternities. One of our jobs is to try to see these problems and pose these questions to applicants and help them work through them. And if they're not being sincere or we smell something funky here, that's different. But I sure don't like to surprise people with new objections at the NPU meeting in any context. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, David, I'm going to break my rule and allow you to speak a second time.
Thank you, and I'll keep it super brief. What I was going to request was, I hear what Jane is saying about what she'd prefer to see. I know that very often we create motions that say, you know, dependent upon making these changes. I'd love to see an amendment to that motion so we have something positive. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I am perfectly happy, would be thrilled to accept an amendment and or condition. No, the LRB may not accept it, but we can send forward what the NPU feels comfortable sending forward. So I'm happy to amend the motion conditioned on honoring the application that there will be no live entertainment and it will not be utilized as an event space, but will function as a restaurant, operate as a restaurant.
No live entertainment, no function as an event space. Okay. And Kay is the seconder for the mess. Would you accept that amendment?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the original motion was to recommend denial. I'm assuming that that would change to recommend approval. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The new motion on the floor is to recommend approval with the conditions that there would be no live entertainment and it would not function as an event space. Okay, does everyone understand the motion? Then all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Did the person that's clapping, are you just applauding the change in the motion or are you voting? Whoops, now it's a thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Okay. I see 26 ayes. I'll clear the feedback. For all those opposed to the motion, please raise your hand. If you're opposed to the motion, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any hands raised. By a vote of 26 ayes and 0 nays, the amended motion to recommend approval with those 2 conditions carries. Okay, thank you, Mr. Isaac.
All right, thank you.
Enjoy your time out of the country. All right, Board of Zoning Adjustment applications. We have 2. V2266, 654 Kimberly Lane. Applicant seeks a variance for active recreation, a swimming pool adjacent to a street. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant present for V2266?
No, my name is Ed Hicks. I'm representing Mr. Carsley. He's out of the country still with his ill father. He'll be coming back in later this week.
Okay, so here's how we'll handle the variance applications. If you could just give a 3 to 5 minute explanation of your project, then well, we don't have a neighborhood recommendation in this case, but I will ask the zoning chairs to take over the meeting at that point, and we'll get comments and questions from the audience. So go ahead, Mr. Hicks.
Sure. So yes, Mr. Carsley would like to build a relatively small pool, about 25 feet long by 16 foot wide, along with a turf patio and a couple small decks around it on the side of their house, his house. And the reason that he wouldn't put it in the backyard is because there's insufficient room. He would definitely infringe upon the setback. And there's also a giant tree, and there's an existing porch. There really isn't room. There really isn't room in the back of the property, but there is very sufficient room on the side property. And it's already very well protected with cedar trees to the neighbor to the one side. There's a wall in the back. We've met with all the neighbors, the immediately adjacent neighbors, and have agreed with, they expressed some concern about privacy, and we've agreed to put in the green giant cedar trees on the back. But anyway, it's a small pool. It's 5.5 feet deep. There's a small hot tub portion of it. It's already kind of in a private little spot, but so there are a lot of big trees. We've gotten a tree prescription. Had an arborist come out and look at it, and are planning on saving all the existing trees and planting new trees. Is that sufficient explanation? Description?
Okay. Jack and Rebecca, I know that you did a site visit. Do you want to?
Yes, we did a site visit. First of all, I think you ought to ask if there are any, we should ask if there are any other adjacent neighbors that want to comment on this. Yeah, Rebecca and I asked for a prescription regarding some potential impacts on trees. The one they got was actually from David Deschamps at Arbor, who's extremely well regarded. And so absent any observation or comments from anyone else and any other testimony from anyone, I'm willing, Rebecca, if you are, to recommend approval based conditioned on the adoption of the tree plan.
Yes, I would recommend approval as well.
So that's our motion. Moved and seconded.
Jack and Rebecca. Okay. And that's with the condition adoption of the
David Deschamps tree plan, which is dated, sir. Mr. Hicks, can you give us that date?
And
Well, perhaps he can't.
no, I can't. I can. Let's see, where is it?
There's a date stamp on it by Arbor.
That's correct. I'm not pulling it up right this second. It was back in May.
Yes,
Yeah, it was at least 2 or 3 months ago, probably.
Yes, the date, if we could condition it on that date, that would be handy.
Okay.
If you don't have it, I will ask the NPU to allow us to supply the date later. And I might add that there's no representative for Edmund Park, and they are, in our opinion, paying quite a price for not having an advocate at there. Rebecca and I have offered to meet with their rep and help them get one going, but they don't have one and don't appear to be interested, which is their right, I guess, to not be represented. Not a right I would choose to exercise, but.
I have the date here. It is May 9th.
May
For the
9th,
arborist report.
May 9th, 2022.
Correct, yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, I don't know if you can see the hands raised, so let me call on Rich Sussman.
What wasn't explained, Jack, everything's fine, but is this backyard, side yard? The description really.
It's a corner lot.
Corner lot, I don't know.
It is a corner lot.
Okay. And so the backyard is just too many challenges in its back.
Yes.
And the properties are close together as well. It's a. in that
The DeKalb
neighborhood.
County, the presentation was substantively factual by Mr. Hicks.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Francis Johnston?
Thank you. I believe it's not a corner lot. There is another house that's actually on the corner of Kimberly. I think it is the second house in.
That's correct.
So it's definitely a side yard. It's not on the corner.
Yeah, it's irrelevant actually, madam, because it's the dimension of the yard that's leads to it that is the determining factor. And these were DeKalb County determinations made under DeKalb County rules of another era, not City of Atlanta ones.
I understand that. I just wanted to correct the statement that it was the corner lot because I believe it's not.
Okay,
I apologize. I thought it was the corner lot when we were there, but okay, I apologize for that.
okay, and a reminder that this variance is for active recreation adjacent to a street. We've had many of these over the years, and that's when the active recreation, which could be a pool, a swing set, a tennis court, can be seen from a street. So if it's in the side of the house and you can see it, that would fit into this.
The appropriate variance.
Yeah. Is there anyone, are there any other questions? Are there any neighbors here that have any comments?
We've already asked that question, I think.
Yeah, I'm just checking. Just checking. Okay, I don't see anyone else. And I don't see any other hands raised. So a motion has been made to recommend approval, conditioned on the adoption of a tree prescription plan by ArborGuard dated 5/9/2022. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 16 ayes. Anyone opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised, so by a vote of 16 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries. Ed will send a recommendation to the city for approval.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, who's going to do V22 100?
Mr. Stillman's here.
Okay, V22 100, 552 Park Drive Northeast. Applicant seeks a variance to reduce the east side yard setback from 7 feet to 3.33 feet and increase the size of an accessory structure from 30% to 37.2% of the main dwelling for construction of an accessory structure and in addition to an existing single-family dwelling. Mr. Steelman?
Thank you. Yes.
Couple minutes.
I'll give a quick summary of the project.
You're breaking up.
My client, Mary and Steve Goff, bought this house late last year, and they're going to be renovating it. Will you stop playing video? Can you hear me better now?
Much better, thank you.
All right. Someone was streaming in the.
Oops, no, it's breaking up again, Adam. I'm sorry.
Let me try this again. A variance for an addition to an existing house.
Okay, now we've totally lost you. Okay. Adam,
What about now?
better, I think.
All right. Hopefully this will last. I'm not sure what's going on. It's an addition to an existing single-family house, a small rear addition that will be in line with the existing house, and a new accessory structure built in the rear yard. This will be built into a steeply sloping hillside. So most of it will actually, or a good portion of it will actually be underground. And that structure is going to be a 2-storage room, a guest house above it will be primary. That setback on the east side, we can keep this accessory structure out of a 15-inch oak to minimize the number of trees that have to be removed for this construction. The proportion of the accessory structure is increased over 30% when compared to the main house. The lot would allow for the main house to be expanded to a much larger size than what is proposed, but they don't need that for their family's purposes. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Virginia Highland, your report.
Planning Committee and Board unanimously recommend approval. We did a site visit. Only trees being lost are being paid for legally through recompense. Unanimous vote. That is my motion that this board do the same. No neighbors were notified. No other issues observed.
And I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
You're fast.
Okay, Holly Sassnet, do you have a question?
I do. Thanks, Debbie. I'm sorry, you were kind of breaking up when you were speaking about the trees. I could tell from your site plan that there's an X on the 17-inch and the 10-inch oak. And I'm just wondering if the placement of that proposed garage with the guest house, if that could be placed differently so you wouldn't have to lose the trees. And I understand that you're paying the recompense for the trees, but from our standpoint, that really doesn't make up for the age of those trees.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the way the lot is set up, building into that hillside makes the most sense in order to have any usable yard for their children. If you're familiar with this area, once you get to the location of where that garage is, the yard slopes up steeply to where you can't see the remainder of the yard from the house. So that when parents were inside, they would not be able to see the kids playing outside. Just being able to have a turnaround in front of the garage and some area for the kids to play really doesn't make it feasible to put that garage any closer to the existing house.
Actually, I'm thinking that it could go back further towards the 20-inch oak, but the patio might end up being reduced so that you don't have to take out that. I mean, the 17-inch is just right on your stairs, but maybe if you move that back a little bit more, you wouldn't have to remove it.
If we moved that garage back, it would be raised in elevation by about 8 feet, so 8 feet higher, which means either you would have a driveway that was impractically steep, or you would need a retaining wall to be able to level that driveway out, and a retaining wall would have the same impact on that 17-inch oak.
Okay. Thank you for answering my questions.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to recommend approval of V22-100. Any questions about the motion? I'm seeing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. I see one hand clap. Already that went away. Okay, 16 ayes. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any nays. By a vote of 16 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank
you. Thanks a lot, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have 2 text amendments. This is Z2253 and Z2254. They essentially do about the same thing. The first is an ordinance by Council Member Alex Wan to amend the regulations of NC4 Cheshire Bridge Road North Neighborhood Commercial District by amending regulations to allow parking structures on lots within the district and for other purposes. And the other one is an ordinance to amend the regulations of NC5 by amending regulations to allow parking structures and lots within the district and for other purposes. We don't have a fact sheet on these items. Is there anyone here that wants to speak to the ordinance recommendations? Rich.
Yeah, I contacted council member Wan's office and had a short discussion with Lance. And Alice was concerned with possible construction of parking decks in both NC4 and NC5. And he thought this would have a negative effect on the development along Cheshire Bridge Road. So he's introducing legislation that would address the potential of parking decks being constructed in this area. And that is his rationale for introducing these text amendments.
Okay, did Linda Martin Manor make a recommendation?
I didn't get this information until our meeting, after their meeting. So I could make it as a member of the executive committee. I would recommend that NPU-F support both Z2253 and Z2254.
Okay. And did you want to make that a motion?
Yes, that's my
He
vote.
moved it. I second it.
I moved.
Okay, I wasn't sure. And Jack, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, the other component to these text amendments is a requirement that an SAP would come to the NPU prior to approval, which is what our other NC districts in the NPU require. It's helpful to have that. Sometimes the variance or rezoning applications not required, so it's good to know what's going on on the block. Okay. Any other questions regarding these ordinances? All right. I think we're going to have to do this in two separate votes, Rich. So the motion is to recommend approval of Z2253, which is the NC4 recommendation. It's been properly seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 13 ayes. I'm going to clear the feedback. Actually, 14 ayes. One popped up just as I was clearing. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see any opposition. By a vote of 14-0, the motion to recommend approval of Z2253 carries. Rich, do you want to make a second motion to approve, or a second motion for Z2254?
Yes, I move that we support Z2254.
Okay.
Second.
Second, that was Kay.
Holly.
Oh, Holly, I'm sorry. Sometimes these pictures disappear faster than I can see. Okay. Any questions about this motion? This is for the south end of Cheshire Bridge Road. Okay, not hearing or seeing any questions or comments. All those in favor of the motion to recommend approval of Z2254, please raise your hand. You guys are ahead of me. Okay, I see 16 ayes. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see any objections or votes to oppose it. By a vote of 16 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries. Just wanted to make one more comment about these. I need to check with Lance or Kieta, I'm not sure which one, but I think there is an error in the V2254. It refers to an SUP, a special use permit, and not an SAP. And I just want to make sure that that's correct, because we're going to get SUPs anyway. Anything that goes to the ZRB comes to us. Okay, that completes all of our voting items. Next item on the agenda is a presentation by Kiana Jones. Kiana, is she still with us?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm here. Thank you very much. Do you mind if I share my screen, please? And I'll be
Go ahead, and it's good to see you.
You too. Thank you so much. All right. Good afternoon. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Kiana, and thank you, Madam Chair. I'm here to represent Invest Atlanta to share information with you regarding our ATL in Business program. Excuse me. Invest Atlanta is the official economic authority engine of the city to strengthen Atlanta's economy. And I'll be really quick. So eligibility for ATL in business. This program is to ensure that all businesses and entrepreneurs have access to grow and be a successful business in Atlanta. ATL in business is the economic tool for businesses to connect with our providers at no cost. Clap for that. In areas like such as business coaching, finance, business plans, marketing, HR, legal, and web development, just to name a few. For-profit businesses are eligible, but they must hold a 2022 business license and show financial hardship during COVID-19, have 250 employees or less, and be able to show an active business license. Excuse me. Not-for-profit businesses are also eligible. They must hold a 2022 business license or a letter of good standing, provide a copy of their IRS determination letter, can attest to financial hardship during COVID-19, have had 250 employees or less as of December 31st, 2021. This service is provided at no cost, which is good because like the other gentleman was mentioning regarding the event facility, the web development costs can be really costly, but Invest Atlanta is offering this services to businesses within the Atlanta footprint at no cost. You can do it one-on-one or virtual. It can be done over Zoom or any location at your respective business or at any of our hubs around the city, which are Pittsburgh Yards, the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurship, the Mary Parker Foundation, and the iVillage. Thank you very much. My name is Kiana Jones, and I'm a small business advocate for Invest Atlanta. We have about 4 other opportunities within the pipeline that the mayor is going to unfold soon. So maybe I'll be visit you guys again, or I can just put my information in the chat and I'll forward the presentations to Miss Debbie.
Any questions for Kiana?
Excuse me.
Bless you. Oh, I see one hand raised.
Yes, Mr. Richards.
Hi, Kiana. Thank you for your presentation. So I understand that this is like a mentoring or technical assistance program for both profits and nonprofits that are struggling at the moment. Is that correct?
Yes, they don't necessarily have to be struggling, but if you could show that you were in need during the COVID-19 pandemic and of course have a business license, then businesses would have an opportunity to utilize the business consultants.
Okay, so for an instance, the liquor, the license for the group that we heard before, Mr. Isaac, sounds like he was having a tough time during COVID. He could take advantage, if he met all the requirements, he could take advantage of the service.
He could, because he mentioned, and I heard it generally, I wasn't, didn't want to comment, but he mentioned that he was paying out thousands of dollars to revamp his website and database. And I do know the importance of it. You want to keep your database as you move from business to business, but he could easily, if he has a Atlanta business license, City of Atlanta business license, could really take advantage. And he did mention that he, I guess, had to close the business during COVID. So that would be his financial hardship, for lack of better words. He could easily take advantage of this service. And you can also direct him to, because he said he didn't know about it, the Piedmont Heights Business Association will present to them on August 22nd of this month.
Okay, so you will be making presentations to the different business associations to make sure their members or people who run businesses in their area know of your resources then, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's my job, to make sure that the NPUs and the businesses and some certain neighborhood associations also have access to this information so that they can share it across the city.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Kiana? I don't see any. So thank you for bringing this information to the NPU. Can you put your presentation in the chat?
I sure can. Give me 1 second.
Debbie, there is one question in the chat as well.
Okay.
Where does the funding come from? For which programs? For loan programs or this particular program? From my understanding, it comes from a combination of public and private funders and the federal government also. But this particular funding for the program that I'm working with, that money, I believe, was generated through HUD. But don't, hold me to that 100.
No, I was just curious, and sounds like a multitude of contribute, different sources of funding. That's
It
good.
is. It really is. I just call it public-private sources. It could be Wells Fargo, the federal government, private funders and donors, et cetera, et cetera.
Kiana, how long will this program last?
Until, I believe, the anticipated date is December 31st, 2024.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
And is it only for businesses that are struggling because of COVID, or could there be other reasons?
No. It's not for only struggling businesses during COVID. Any business has a right to or opportunity to apply for our Atlanta Recovery Loan, Commercial Property Improvement Grant, and 2 more opportunities that will be in the pipeline soon. So, but the main thing is primarily having that City of Atlanta business license, because we've had people that applied for resurgence funds from like Douglasville and Gwinnett County, et cetera, but you will have to show your City of Atlanta business license.
Okay.
And I'm gonna work, give me 1 second, I'm gonna work on putting this presentation in the chat.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
All right, you too. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks. Planners report, Doug Young, welcome back. We missed you.
Thank you, Debbie. Good evening, everybody. Doug Young with the City of Atlanta's Office of Design and Department of City Planning, and I'm the NPU-F. I'm the planner assigned to NPU-F, and so my responsibility is to help staff the meetings and otherwise answer questions as I can about projects and programs that come up. In my day job, I manage the city's Office of Design, which includes the presentation studio, the planning studio, and the public space studio. We do have a couple of quick announcements tonight, and let me grab my document here. Let's see. All right. So, like I said, a couple quick announcements. You all familiar with, I believe, with NPU University, and so we're adding some more free courses through the fall, including right now, about community leadership, planning, and civic participation. There was one course that already occurred this month on August 11th, which was the bylaws clinic, but there's another one coming up on August 31st, which is the elections integrity clinic. And I'll put the link in the chat at the end to register for those events and to get more details on them. The Office of Buildings is starting what they're calling permitting in the park this month. This is an effort to assist with the on the spot permitting assistance at several parks and recreation centers. This would be permits for work on your property, but they'd be in the park, like a sort of mobile office, if you will. Again, there'll be a link in the chat for how to find out more about those locations and what would be offered in those more like pop-up spots, I guess the best way to describe them. The Department of City Planning is continuing to work with our customers and staff to identify and implement improvements to our development and permitting services. We identified 22 specific action items so far, and we've fully implemented 6 of those. 7 more of those are in process, and there'll be more details in the chat about sort of that status update on those improvements. And then if you have more questions, comments, suggestions about permitting related services by the City of Atlanta, Elizabeth Johnson is our business improvement manager, and her email will be in the chat as well. She's the one managing this service improvement project I just mentioned with the 22 action items. And then next announcement is the Office of Housing and Community Development, which is part of the Department of City Planning, just launched its affordable housing tracker. It's a web-based map tool that gives you the real-time information about affordable housing projects throughout the City of Atlanta of all different kinds, shapes, and sizes. That link will be in the chat as well. This is a way to keep track of projects that have been identified by their applicants or the city as affordable housing type projects. And then another project by the Office of Housing and Community Development is the Faith-Based Development Initiative, which is in its 7th month. It's aimed at helping faith-based organizations develop their land for affordable housing. There's another workshop coming up on August 25th at St. Louis Episcopal Church from 9 to 10 a.m. That information will be in the chat as well. And then the last thing I'll add is an announcement that is something I'm working on specifically. You might remember a month or 2 ago, we presented the city's LGBTQ+ historic research project. And we're having a sort of a moderated panel discussion about LGBTQ history in the City of Atlanta. This will be on August 27th, which is a Saturday. Doors open at 9:30. It's at the Outfront Theater on Brady Avenue in West Midtown. This will be an opportunity for us to give a formal update on the project and hear from several notable LGBTQ community members about the history of places and spaces in the City of Atlanta. And we anticipate other public events coming up as we get closer to the end of that grant project time period, which will be by the end of the year. And those are the announcements for tonight, Debbie.
Great, thanks. And you're going to put all that in the chat, or have you already put it in the chat?
I'll put that in the chat as well as my contact information.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Doug? Okay, thanks. Alrighty. Right. Next items on the agenda are neighborhood and committee reports. Lindridge Martin Manor.
Yes, I do have a report. Unfortunately, our president, Peyton Bell, is moving, and he's going to have to resign his position as an interim president, and we are in the process now of finding another interim president. And so once that occurs, I will report who the new czar of Lindridge Martin Manor will be.
I'm sorry that he's leaving the neighborhood. Piedmont Heights. Anyone here still from Piedmont Heights?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was bouncing around looking for Bill, but no, nothing from us.
Okay. No report. Morningside Lenox Park.
Hello. We have a lot of events coming up in Morningside. We have the first of 3 in our fall concert series at Sydney Marcus on August 26th, and the Friends Group is hosting a food drive to benefit In-Town Collaborative Ministries on the 26th and the 27th. We have Meet the MLPA board at the 10 spot on August 31st for neighbors to bring concerns or learn more about what we do and more volunteer opportunities. We have a new neighbor welcome at the Family Dog on September 8th, and then our inaugural pickleball tournament at Lenox Wildwood Park on October 1st.
And if people wanted more information, could they go to your website?
Yes, most of those are on the website on our calendar. And if they're not, I will get them on there soon.
Great, thanks, Marla.
All right, thank you.
Virginia Highland.
Hi, Debbie. The biggest thing that we have coming up is our tour of homes. This year we are doing it in the fall, so it will be October 1st, and it will just be 1 day instead of 2 days. And that's about it.
Okay, and you're just started looking for volunteers, right?
Yes, yes.
And I put the volunteer link in the chat.
Look at you, Kay. Thanks, guys. Teamwork.
Great. Is there anyone here from Edmund Park? Emery, Druid Hills? Parks, Trees, and Environment, Rich?
Yes. So recently I attended a talk at Trees Atlanta, and there was an incredible announcement made. Over the next 10 years, Trees Atlanta will be embarking on a project in downtown Atlanta, about a 1.2 square mile area bordered by North Avenue, I-20, Northside Drive, and Boulevard, to increase the tree canopy from 3.3% to 18% over the next 20 years. It engaged Steve Sanchez, and Steve worked with Greg Levine over the past 6 months of putting together an incredible data planning document to make this happen. Trees Atlanta intends initially to plant 10,000 trees in this area. When they found out they could only plant 8,016, they decided on 8,016. It'll cost $15 million. There's lots of money apparently nationally available for this. So I'm not sure if it's on the Trees Atlanta website, but again, Trees Atlanta is one of the best programs in the city of Atlanta. It helps all of our neighborhoods, and it's going to increase the tree canopy, if it all goes well, from very little in downtown Atlanta, which is probably has the least percentage of tree canopy, to a respectable percentage.
Wow, that is exciting. Okay, thank you. Leah, do you have an education report?
I do. So last Monday on August 8th, the APS Board of Education voted a new K-5 into the Inman building space. So that process has been approved. This will take place in the 23-24 school year. And then the last boundaries that were proposed were still currently the ones that are going to go into effect. My understanding is that APS is working on their hiring committee right now, which will consist of GO team members from the affected schools with parents that are being rezoned to the new school, as well as APS administration and then staff from the other cluster schools. And then there's also going to be a renaming committee, which means that it could remain Inman or it could get a new name. And NPU will be represented in that, as well as representatives from each neighborhood. So if anyone has any strong opinions about the name, I'm going to drop my email into the chat and would love feedback on that. There is going to be a historian who is going to come speak to the committee about the history of Samuel Inman himself, because there is some question into him as an individual. So if anyone has any feedback on that from the community, I would love to hear about that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Leah, and thanks for sitting on that renaming committee.
Yes.
All right. Public safety, Kay?
Yeah, I think we probably covered the key safety subjects earlier in the meeting, unless anybody has any additional questions. Okay, that's it.
Okay. And you don't have an APAB report, right? This month.
I do not.
APAB actually meets next Saturday, and it's my turn to attend that meeting. Stop laughing.
I'm very sympathetic. I really am.
Yeah, thanks. I do have a chair report. The NPU-F Executive Committee met on July 25th to discuss proposed bylaw and policy sheet amendments and to preview the zoning amendments that you heard on tonight's agenda. We'll discuss the proposed amendments during new business, which is in just a minute or two. As you know, Music Midtown 2022 has been canceled. Music Midtown had offered NPU-F 100 tickets for 2022. And in a meeting last week, I believe it was, told us that they will roll those tickets over to next year, in addition to offering the NPU an additional 100 tickets for 2023. Virginia Highland has expressed interest in the tickets and will use them for a fundraising project. Also, APD is accepting applications for the Citizen Police Academy. The academy takes place on Tuesday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. from September 6th to October 25th. The deadline to receive applications is August 29th. If you're interested in attending the academy, and all those that have ever attended it say that it's a really good experience, please let me know and I'll send you the application and the related material. And the next set of public meetings on ATL zoning 2.0 will begin at the end of August. And I will put a flyer in the chat that has that information. I know many of you attended the first round of meetings in preparatory meetings, and this is the next set of public meetings that'll extend through the end of the year. I think one a month till the end of the year. And then finally, the NPU will continue to meet virtually. Many of you expressed interest in continuing to vote to attend the NPU via Zoom, and so we'll continue to do that. And that's it for my report. We have no new old business tonight. And for new business, I wanted to briefly talk about the recommendations for amendments to the 2023 bylaws and policy sheet and get reactions from the NPU on the changes so that we can finalize them in the documents and can vote on them in September. There are 5 recommendations. The first is additions to our consent agenda. We've been working with the consent agenda for about 3 years and have found that there are additional types of variances that once they've been reviewed by the neighborhood and the neighborhood hasn't conducted a site visit, we end up with very little discussion or controversy, which requires very little NPU discussion. Jack and Rebecca are proposing additions to the consent agenda listing that broadens the types of applications. Our process will remain unchanged and an item can be removed by a neighbor applicant or anyone attending the meeting. So even with a broader scope of items on the consent agenda, they can still come off. Jack, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that? Or does anyone have any questions or concerns about expanding our consent agenda? No questions, no concerns? Looks like Jack has left the meeting. Is Rebecca?
No, I haven't left. I'm right here.
Oh, I'm
I,
sorry.
I think it makes the vast majority of our discussions have no questions. And this just gives a chance, this still allows anybody who has a question to raise it as ever, as with all consent agendas. Any NPU member can take something off, as anyone can down at City Hall. So it's perfectly consistent with the BZA approach as well. But most of them, and it does assume there'll be a report sent in and that the NPU will publish the report to enlighten the citizenry ahead of time. And then the citizens will read the report and see if they have any questions. Most of the time we don't. I can't remember the last question I had about a Piedmont Heights recommendation, a Morningside recommendation, or a Lindridge Martin Manor edition. If you make a site visit and the vote is unanimous in your neighborhood, we'll go on the consent agenda. Still can take it off, but most of them are not discussed at all,
Right.
which reflects confidence in the local group doing their job.
Okay. Jack, have you and your subcommittee worked on the language and how it should?
Send it to you, Debbie. It's in your inbox right now. I sent it earlier tonight.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't have it before the meeting, so I just wanted to make sure that we had it.
It's there. It's very simple. It just says exactly that. I've killed almost everything on the planning page because most of it didn't apply anymore anyway.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Yes, so
Oh, sorry.
by default, Edmund Park not having a zoning committee, zoning chair, they would not go on the consent agenda. Is that correct? If that
You don't have it says for those neighborhood associations who do a site visit.
Right.
And have a motion made and approved unanimously by their zoning or planning committee and their neighborhood association, they'll go on so it's getting scrutinized.
Yeah.
It's scrutinized at the local level, which is where you can do it, where you should do it.
So let me ask you this, because Edmund Park doesn't have a operating neighborhood association, do we want to consider someone from the NPU or several people from the NPU doing their work for them? Maybe not the same two people, but.
They also so far have, on one hand, we can count their things that come to this in 2 years. So I suggest we let the need be plain to them. This application tonight, there were neighbors who objected, but they couldn't figure out, they don't have a forum for doing it. We spoke to them and said, urge them to get to their neighborhood association, work out a way to do this. So we would help them, teach them the procedure. But if they're not motivated to do it, that's their biz. They can just take whatever comes to them. I think that's entirely fair. And once there's something, a real outrageous event occurs, I think that's how many of us learn to get involved. Something that we thought was very upsetting happened, and it or almost happened. And I think that's the best way. So, I mean, I'd recommend let them figure it out themselves.
Okay. All right, let me go to the next item. After some discussion, the executive committee suggested that the new meeting date for the NPU be moved to the third Wednesday of the month. This should avoid any federal or city holidays or city meetings. I'm currently vetting the day with participants who attend our meetings to be sure that we won't be creating other issues. This will require a bylaw amendment since our meeting date is specified in the bylaws specifically. Any questions, comments, or concerns regarding that? David? Is that your hand?
I know that a lot of the other events, planning and so on, have their dates tied to NPU, or there's a cascade. What's the ripple effect of this change?
So there shouldn't be any because we're in the same week. The planning committees, the neighborhood meetings are the first and second week of the month. And so we would continue that same flow. And the BZA meets the first and second Thursday of the month. ZRB meets the first and second Thursday of the month. The LRB meets every other Tuesday, which is why we didn't select Tuesday as a date. I think those are all the formal meetings. There's only one other NPU that meets on the third Wednesday, and that is NPU-I. So there shouldn't be any conflicts with APD, Atlanta Fire, since those are both in different zones. There's a couple other places that I'm checking, like code enforcement, to make sure there's no overlap.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. We're really trying to make sure we don't create any other issues. Anyone else have any questions regarding that? The date change would not take effect until our January meeting, which is when our bylaw change would become effective. And that should give us enough time to advertise the date change so that folks would know that. Okay, no comments on that. The next item was that neither our bylaws nor our policy sheet has a process for adding new organizations formally into the NPU. And I'm thinking of things like the Pi High Alliance and the Virginia Highland District Association. And so it's proposed that we add it into the policy sheet. The requirements will be that that are recommended will be that the organization is located in and primarily serves NPU-F neighborhoods. The organization must be located in the city of Atlanta. It must meet at least annually and have officers and a board. And the appropriate neighborhood organizations must support it as a recognizable, viable organization. Recognition will result in a seat on the NPU-F Executive Committee. Any questions, concerns, or comments regarding that?
Yeah, I don't see any reason in the world to give a non-existent organization that hasn't been in the group an automatic seat on the board. I would say that I'd wait a year to see if they're functioning and what contribution they're making. And then, I mean, I admit the board hardly does anything. That's a fact. But this seems like a lot of motion for motion's sake to me.
Well, we don't really have a mechanism for adding an organization, so it is a suggested best practice on the.
Yeah, based on our experience, we've never missed it. I mean, as somebody, apparently it exists, that it's an existing best practice by whom, for what, and why has not been explained. But this is motion for motion's sake, it seems to me. Look, we're adding organizations, but what do they do and what difference do they make and who cares? And
Okay.
so I'll be voting against it.
Okay, thank you. For giving us the heads up. In the last.
Debbie, I had my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kay.
That's okay. I just would counter that I'm aware of at least 2 organizations that would like to join who are not members, and at least one of them has been in existence for 30 years. So we know exactly what it does as a service to the community. So I would be voting in support of it.
What group
the
is that?
Virginia Highland Security Patrol.
Okay, thanks, Kay. Great. Okay, then the last item is the retention schedule for Zoom recordings. Zoom recordings are currently kept on my laptop. We really haven't had a place for them. The size of the files from Zoom is in excess of a gig, and in some cases it's a couple gigs. And everyone agrees that this is not ideal, particularly me. I can't update my laptop with new software because it's sucking up all my space. So Kay has done some research, and her recommendation is to transfer the files to an NPU-F YouTube channel and retain the copies for as long as there's no charge for the retention. Kay, did I get that recommendation right?
Yep, exactly right. At some point, YouTube is part of Google, and at some point, Google may want some money from us, and when they do, we need a different solution, but this will work for now.
Any questions about that? We can publish then where the links are. We can put it on our website so that folks can get the links. And
that's right. And people will be able to go look at them. Frankly, I don't believe anyone ever will, based on my experience with the Civic Association and how no one ever went and looked at those. I did, maybe Jack does, but generally people do not. But they will be out there and people will be able to access them without anybody on the NPU having to go retrieve them and set that up. So it should work fine.
And currently it's a real pain. I've had 2 requests and the files were they were much too large to send through email. They were too large to sit in a Dropbox to carry on. So if YouTube can take them, I think that's great. And I think that's a pretty good solution.
Yeah, and YouTube has no limits on either how many files we can upload or the size of the total storage we use up. So it's a good solution for now.
Anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding that? Okay. So at next month's meeting, these will be summarized with the specific changes to the bylaws and to the policy sheet. We will vote on each one individually. And our vote and the new version will be sent to the city by the end of September. Okay, any other questions on that? Not hearing any, is there any other business to come before the NPU tonight? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Great. All those in favor may leave the meeting. What time is it? 9:26.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. And don't forget, you can copy the chat by going to the bottom of the chat box. There are 3 dots. If you click those 3 dots, it says save chat, and everything that is in there will go into a text file for you. Carol, did you get everything you needed? I noticed that you fell out of the meeting at least once.
Yeah, I think it was actually twice, but let me go through what I did get and let you know. I think it was the very beginning, so some of the police reports.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm in Alabama and they had a thunderstorm and that's when it went out.
It got here after a while, so.
Oh, did it? Okay. Yeah, we sent it your way.
And I have pretty good notes on the APD stuff in case you're missing anything.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, good. I was listening and not taking notes like I usually do.
Okay, great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You know, thank
Good night,
you.
Carol.
And thanks for doing such a good job.
Oh, thanks. All right. Take care.
I
Bye-bye.
didn't do last month.
That's great. All right.